TMI, every opinion counts.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. Time to focus our attention on another very big issue. Now, Monday and Tuesday in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, saw very, I think the word is huge and unprecedented protests. They generated into, something else. Properties were destroyed within the FCT. I mean, there were clips of cars parked, windshields shattered in the name of that protest. The police tried to calm the situation, and it was something else. I mean, there were videos of, the police having to use water and, tear gas, to, try to handle the situation. And these protesters still went on to fight the armored personnel carrier, with the police involved. Big question is, how did we get to this point? The Islamic movement in Nigeria is not something that is new to us. I mean, for the past 30 years, they've been a recurrent on the news. The leader of the sect, or the leader of the group, rather, Sheikh El-Zakzakay, got arrested some time ago. No reason has been given for the arrest. The court have said, let him go. Those that got him arrested still have him. And, that has brought what we had on Monday and Tuesday. And the big question is, are we heading towards a point where we would now begin to deal with another Boko Haram situation in Nigeria? It's pretty scary, because if you remember very well, that was how the Boko Haram issue started. Leader of the sect got arrested. Something went wrong. He died in detention. And then the group became so radical that we're spending $1 billion today, to solve the problem. The same $1 billion that places like the United Arab Emirates used to build the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, we're spending on security right now. That money could have gone into investing in infrastructure and tourism potentials of Nigeria. But quickly, let's look at the issues from that protest. I've got with me a legal practitioner, human rights activist, and public affairs commentator, Barrister Felix Isere. Thank you for joining me this morning. Okay, so quickly, let's just look at a little bit of the issues. Why has this group become a recurrent on the news in recent time?
I think before we look at that, I think it was very important for us to look at the Shiite movement.
The Shiite movement.
We have to look at it fair, because most times Nigerians, when we talk about Shiites, people keep asking, who are they? Are they not Muslims? Are they not? So I think there's a need for us to look at it from a very historical point of view, so that people can learn to appreciate them proper and what they are agitating for. Looking back at 600 years, 630 something AD, when during the death of Prophet Muhammad, we understood the fact that the Muslim divided into two. We have the Sunni and we have the Shiites.
Okay.
The Sunni believe that, God is the one that gives power. Allah anointed Muhammad to take over. And now that Muhammad is dead, the process of his succession should be democratic.
Okay.
It means that the person who they believe, who they elect to lead them, will be the one who will be the head of the Islamic movement. The Shiites on their side also believe that no, it's not democratic. This thing is successional. It has to be somebody from the lineage of Muhammad. So they decided to also look for a person. They believe in Ali, while the other side believe in Abu Bakr. So the two factions of Islam is basically divided into two. One believe in democracy as a means of succession. The other one believe in inheritance. So the Shiite movement believe in inheritance as a means of succession. So if you look at the world today, we have Muslims. About 90% of Muslims belong to the Sunni, while about 10% to 15% belong to the Shiite movement. Let's come back to Nigeria. Nigeria is not a populated country full of the Shiite. It's actually the Sunni that are basically, we only have the Shiite in countries like the Iran, Iraq. Then I'm here to basically talk about issues that border on the constitutional aspect, the section 38 of the Constitution.
Okay.
Guarantee right to freedom of religion. Religion. You can practice whatever you want to practice. You can belong to, if you decide to say, oh, this stone is what I believe in. This is what I want to practice. This is my religion.
Okay.
So the problem we are having today, the protest, Monday protest, can be looked back to the 2015, when there was a clash between the Sheikh movement and the chief of defense staff.
The chief of army staff convoy.
Yes, convoy.
Okay.
We heard that they had a crash in Kano that led to the deaths of many Sheikh movement. From record, the National Islamic movement, the report they gave us that nothing less than 1,000 of their members died. But from reports, we were told that the governor set up a panel to investigate, and they told us it was 380-something person that died. Okay. I felt so pain, I felt so sad. If it is only one person, if it's just one Nigerian citizen who died in that protest, that would have been a concern for the Nigerian government. That would have been a concern for everybody. But that is not just the issue. The leader of the movement, after that protest, was arrested. The wife was arrested. 3 children was killed. As we speak today, he is still languishing in the prison, despite court judgment. Okay. December 2nd, 2016, there was a valid court judgment by Justice Ademola with Federal High Court, ordering that this man should be released, that the government has violated his fundamental human rights and awarded a damage of 50 billion naira. Well, the government said, no, who are you caught? We cannot obey you. We must exercise the powers of the government. We must do what is in our mind. The question I want to ask is, what is the interest of the government in this whole issue? Okay,
let me take you back a little bit. I mean, you gave us a little bit of history, but I'm also aware that on that day when the convoy of the Chief of Army Staff was in transit, and this group had an altercation. I mean, there was a series of appeal from senior officers in that convoy to the group to leave the road, and they didn't heed. And at some point, they started attacking the convoy. And my question is, was it right to do what they did?
Well, I think I wouldn't want to base my argument on speculation.
No, I'm asking, was it right to do what they did?
I was not there. You were not there. We only got a report of what happened. But let me say, looking at it from a very proactive point of view,
you know the convoy of the Chief of Army Staff when it moves. If you've ever seen it, I mean, it's huge.
Mr. Ogoshuku, the Chief of Army Staff is a citizen of Nigeria.
He is.
We are practicing democracy.
He was attacked.
He was not. You cannot say he was attacked. We can't. I was not there. You were not there. Then why are we saying he was attacked?
We've seen reports from the army, the reports from the committee that was set up by the government, also to look at the issue.
When dealing with civilians, when you are dealing with civilians, you must understand the provocative theory.
Okay.
Yeah, people were not armed. You were armed. People who fear religion. We're talking about.
They were not armed.
They were not armed. They were not.
You know they were not armed. You just said we were not there.
I was not there when I said they were not armed. There was no report.
You're speculating that they were not armed.
It's not speculation. We look at fact before we base our judgment. Number one.
The military says they attacked the Chief of Army Staff. Will they attack the Chief of Army Staff without?
When I say they were not armed, there was no report that a military man was shot. If there was a report that, they shot a military man, okay, there was a provocation, that was a reaction. There was nothing like that. These people normally.
But you can't just say they just reacted.
From what I've seen, my little time I spent in Abuja.
Okay.
I've seen these persons when they are moving. There's a procession. Yeah. It's like they have a ritual they conduct where they move. Most times they are going. I've seen them moved. They'll be very peaceful.
Okay.
I've never seen them armed. I've never seen them violent. So, also taking it from that angle, I don't think that they were armed. Let us assume they were even armed. Okay. Let us assume.
Okay.
Let us assume they were even armed. They were armed.
Okay. Let's quickly, because of time, let's begin to look at how the Nigerian government in itself, deals with violent extremism before it snowballs into a very big problem. When I introduced this discussion, I started with the issue of Boko Haram, and if you remember very well, I mean, it was something like this. Gradually snowballs into something else. The government handles maybe not the right way, maybe to them the right way, but it snowballs into something else. Take, for instance, also, we had the issue of the Niger Delta militants here when it started. You remember the President Olusegun Obasanjo government at the time and the role they played in OD, and then it snowballed into what we had. You remember the indigenous people of Biafra, how some years ago, just about 2 years ago or last year also, all of that. So let's look at how the Nigerian government deals with.
I think the question we need to be asking basically first is, where were these guys in Nigeria and the child movement? Were they in Nigeria? Have they been in Nigeria?
I started by saying history. They've always been there. They've always been in more than 30 years.
Yes. Have we ever had any issue of them being violent? Have we ever had any issue of them turning to?
There's been. I've had discussions with people that have lived in Kaduna, people that have lived in Kano, and there's been times when they said these people have gone violent. All right, so it's not like it's the first time we're hearing it. I was wishing Honorable Morrison Ogorobo would be able to join me this morning, even if we hear he's on his way, because I mean he's lived in Kaduna, he was born in Kaduna, raised around the Zaria area, and seems to have had a bit of personal relationship with even Sheikh El-Zakzakay at some point, because they grew up in the same area. So I was hoping he was going to join us this morning with some of the knowledge, personal relationship that he's had with them. Hoping he joins us also. But, back to what we're looking at. Let's look at how the Nigerian government and the way it deals with all of this before it snowballs into something else. What's your thoughts?
I think first, let me say this. I'm not a supporter. I'm not an advocate of religious extremism.
Okay.
I'm not also an advocate of violence.
Okay.
But sometimes we try to look at issues, then we make our judgment on issues from the facts that are available.
Okay.
When you talk about issue of Niger Delta, issue of those are issues that borders on their politics, matters that borders on government. But this is a matter that borders on religion. No,
but they all start the same way somehow, and then they're either mishandled and they snowball. That's what I'm asking.
These were criminal elements. These are we should not try to compare them. These are criminal elements who were agitating for things that they were wanted, using the wrong means. But this is a religious group recognized by the Constitution.
Agitating for something they want.
They are not agitating for anything.
Agitating for the release. Agitating for the release of their leader. We're looking at the protest in Abuja on Monday and Tuesday. Agitating for the release of their leader, causing pandemonium in the federal capital territory.
What is the definition of pandemonium?
Did you follow the news?
I have not seen.
Did you follow the news on Monday and Tuesday?
I followed the news very much.
Did you see the destruction on?
They were provoked.
Did you see the destruction on private property?
Mr. Ogoshuku, please, can I ask you a very simple question? I don't want, God forbid, for example, now, as a citizen of the country, I have a leader I respect so much. He's arrested. My family member, maybe somebody was a victim of the onslaught. The leader, wife is arrested, 3 children killed, were being intimidated. If I'm a Christian, as a Christian, I would do everything possible to protest against it.
Do you justify injustice? Do you fight injustice by
you don't use illegality to correct illegality.
Okay.
That was why they went to court.
Okay.
They went to court. These are
why not continue following legal process?
What is the legal process?
I'm not asking you questions as the spokesman of the sect. I'm asking you questions as a lawyer and human rights activist. All right. So let's also put into perspective the people that went about their peaceful
protest
activities on that day. Business owners that lost money, lost properties to that protest. And, you sound like, okay, these people are very peaceful. I've not met them one-on-one. I don't know. All right? But for a very peaceful group protesting, peaceful protest, and then you decide to face the police with water canisters, with tear gas. I mean, that's clip on the screen.
Well, I don't think, when I talk on issues like this, sometimes I try not to be emotional about it. I don't know what is wrong. I don't know whether I would call it the arrogance of the government. I don't know what to call it. It's the lack of proactiveness of the government. I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know what to call it, whether it's the lack of directionless of the government or possibly they don't know what they're doing. For God's sake, there are more pressing security challenges
But this was something. This was something in the Federal Capital Territory.
Forget whether it's the Federal Capital.
That had the probability to snowball into something else if it wasn't checked.
Just about 5 men yesterday went into the National Assembly, took a mace that represented the instrument that represents the emblem of our democracy. You're
not sure there were 5 men? We're getting conflicting
I watched it.
Some have said 15. Some have said.
How can? Okay, let me assume 15 men. How can 15 men? They broke the security apparatus. They entered the house, and if they could enter unchallenged, the police were there. Is it now people were protesting for their right that he started tear gassing? These are issues we should be looking at.
Don't you think for them to have been tear gassed, they must have at some point?
I have been a part of protests where we tear gassed. It's a normal thing.
Human rights activists.
Yes, it's a part of it where we protest. And but the question is, we must first look at the root of the protest. Let me give you a very good example. If a child is going to school in the morning, the child is crying, I want to go to school. You tell the child, don't go to school. You beat the child, even give the child money. The child says, I'm not going to school. You continue to do everything to ensure that child goes to school. The child says, I'm not going to school. You have not been able to look at the root of the problem of that child. There is somebody in that school that always beat that child. It's not until you are able to settle that child, no matter what you do, you cannot solve the challenge of that child. So what am I saying in a nutshell? The government should look at the fact that, number one, he that comes to equity must come with a clean hand. There is a court judgment you are violating. You are violating a court judgment and say, release this man. How can a person be arrested in 2015? He has not been tried. He has not been taken to court. His right under Section 36 has been well violated. Okay. And today, you are tear gassing people.
Okay, just quickly.
For exercising their rights.
Do they have legal options they can still explore, to achieve their aim instead of getting violent and destroying people's properties?
Let me quickly look at these things a little bit from a legal point of view. So we understand very well. Judgment was given. Release this man. Let him go. He has no case to answer.
Okay.
You have violated his right, pay money. The government went on appeal.
Okay.
A man going on appeal does not study the judgment of a lower court when there is no stay of execution. There is none.
Are you sure there was no stay?
There is no stay of execution. I have been following the proceeding. There is no stay of execution. Okay. It means that judgment ought to have been obeyed.
Okay.
The option they would have exercised is okay.
That's the Sheikh group.
The Sheikh would have exercised is okay to file an action for contempt of court, to disobey a court judgment. Then when you are filing such action against the federal government, you are indirectly filing against the Minister of Justice, Attorney General of the Federation, who is supposed to come and answer. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a situation where the Minister of Justice of the country can be arrested? And who are those to enforce this judgment? They are the Nigeria police. Do you think an average Nigeria police can go to the office of the Minister of Justice to go and arrest him? So you see, these guys are helpless.
Are you saying if the court gives an order for the Attorney General to be arrested, he wouldn't be arrested?
He will not be arrested.
I put
it to you that he will not be arrested.
It's okay.
Because this is a government. There is a part of the government. Do you think any police officer can wake up and go and arrest the Minister of Justice when he knows that these persons are the one who control the government? It's not possible. So these guys, let's be frank as here, it can be me, it can be you tomorrow. So when I'm talking from a very dispassionate point of view. I'm looking at it from the fact that, as an activist, I'm looking at it as a Nigerian who believes in constitutionalism. There cannot be democracy when there is no rule of law. There cannot be no rule of law when there is no constitution. And there cannot be no constitution when there is no constitutionalism.
Well, you can't address all of this by violence. That's just where I have an issue a little bit. The fact that some violence went into it. They could have exercised restraint. I mean, at some point we were student unionists, and there were times when there were protests, and the instruction was, do not destroy. We made sure nothing happened at the time. So,
I said something before, without prejudice. I am not a supporter of violence. I'm not a supporter of being a mischief maker. I'm not a supporter.
Okay.
But you made reference to being a former student union leader. I think when I was coming up, my days of struggle, I came to learn 3 things.
Okay.
When there are challenges, when there is a struggle, there are 3 C's you must apply. Number 1 is consultation.
True.
Number 2 is confrontation.
Okay.
Number 3 is consolidation.
Okay.
These guys have embarked on consultation. What is the consultation? They went to court. They consult the court, and the court gave a judgment.
Okay.
Since that option has failed, what next? Confrontation. What a reasonable government would do right now to say, we will not allow this thing to snowball into a very, okay, come and go. This would have solved the problem. Then, if the government has not released their leader by now, he's still in detention for about 3 years. The wife is still in detention. The 3 children are dead. There's no apology. About 1,000 members of the Sheikh group have been allegedly killed. I don't know what we are talking about here. These persons they are citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay, so you're saying the government should sit down right now.
They should sit down.
Find a way out.
Maybe they have some things that they're hiding. Maybe there are ulterior motive for this, which we don't know. This is a religious struggle, and I don't want to believe that because the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is a Muslim, he belongs to the Sunni group or so. No. Let me tell you something. Men, they went to Dashi, kidnapped 100 and something children. The policemen were there. They could not do anything. They didn't say, "Oh, these guys are terrorist group. Let us arrest them. Let us do this." They left their duty post.
Now, the information we have is that there were no security personnel.
They were not. They withdrew themselves. The same terrorists.
You're not sure they knew the terrorists.
Okay. Let us assume that. Okay, they didn't know. They went to ease themselves. They went to flex themselves.
No, let's not.
I'm going somewhere, please. Okay. I'm going somewhere. The same terrorist group also came. They came to drop. As they were dropping, the same security apparatus.
There was an agreement between the government and them that there would be no interference.
What I would have
for the safety of the girls.
What I would have expected is for the safety of Nigeria, there should also be an agreement between the government of the day and the Sheikh movement.
Okay.
There should also be an agreement. Because a government, any reasonable government, should not always think about win-win. It should always talk about win-lose. It should be a case of win-win.
Okay.
You have dealt with these people too much. They have lost so much. You allow them to go.
You're suggesting both parties come to the negotiating table and solve the problem.
That is my appeal.
All right. We're just going to anchor on that and watch what happens with the issue as they unfold. Definitely, you get to find out. Thank you so much, Barrister Felix Osere, for coming through this morning. I appreciate your time. And that's how we wrap up this discussion this morning. But do remember to share your thoughts via our social media platform on Twitter @ITVRadioNG. Use the hashtag CMI. When you tweet, let us know what you think about all of these issues we've discussed.